So, also for the record, if um, if you're a regular viewer, or even if you're a new viewer, um, you know, tuning into this channel, you're in the right place. All right. I've known John for about 2, 3 months, maybe. Um, and initially, I was getting my roots in with networking, and I had a goal. I wanted to meet some some business owners, and wanted to get perspective as to how they do some of their networking, and see how they move themselves around in the in this environment. Um, and I ended up connecting with John, and I've enjoyed our friendship since. Um, Cool dude, always walk away with something after talking to him. So, shoot, shout out to John, and again, thank you for having me on here. Um, with that being said, before I get into some of the tax diversification spiel, I want to share a little bit about myself, because I think it's important. Um, it's an influencer to why I do what I do now. Um, and a lot of it has to do with the fact that I come from very humble beginnings. Uh, I was born in Mexico. My mother and I came here when I was 2 years old. So I have no idea what that was like. So don't ask me. Um, and yeah, we ended up coming up here to California. I was living in Santa Maria, California, which is like Central Coast, like Santa Barbara area. My mom's family lived there, and she ended up meeting my stepfather. And when I was like around 4 years old, we moved to Sacramento. He got a plumbing job. My dad got a plumbing job out here. Um, and yeah, our family kept growing, and my father was always the single source of income in the household. So it was pretty difficult at times. Um, and sharing was like a huge concept in the household. And I never truly understood um, you know how money worked up until probably like middle school. And kudos to my parents too. Like, even though we weren't the wealthiest family, like my parents never allowed us to feel that. So we didn't even recognize it until we got a little bit earlier, started thinking a little bit more for ourselves. um, so I'll give you guys an example. um, Back in 2007, um, my dad had became a homeowner, and as we all know, the following year the housing market crashed. So my father ended up losing his home. And with the Great Recession uh, that followed with that, he ended up getting laid off later on. Those two events happened when I was fairly young still. So what I remember was, it was like, oh, we have to move houses now, right? Because this one is too expensive. So I was like, all right, we just don't make enough money. So we ended up going somewhere else. Um, and then, my dad getting laid off, I was like, it's cool. Like, my dad can get another job, right? Um, so super oblivious, went over my head. And then as I got older, I realized, what, my parents do need help. So, I started working landscaping jobs when I was like 16, helping out as much as I can. When I turned 18, I became a dreamer. So I was able to go find another job, and actually work an hourly wage. Um, so yeah, I was helping my family out. Um, and little by little, as my brothers got older too, our goals just became to become less financially dependent of my parents. Become financially independent a lot sooner. Um, which is a big reason why I went into finance and business into college, and why I'm in the field that I'm in right now. Previous to this, I was taking care of students in after school programs, providing tutoring and clubs. Um, which you would think it's a huge stretch, right? You're watching kids, and then you're doing life insurance. Um, they're more similar than you would think. They're more similar than you think. Just to give you a quick example, on one hand, I'm taking care of a student, and getting to know their family. Now, with that, you know, with that relationship, and transferring it over here, I'm able to do more for the family. It doesn't, the relationship doesn't just stop during the hours of the school, which is, I've enjoyed a fair amount. But anyways, right. So, the meat and potatoes, right? We're gonna get into tax diversification, right? But some of the things I want to go over real quick. There is two concepts I like to go over before I speak with anybody, and those two concepts are: one, choosing the right company, and two, choosing the right person. And this goes hand in hand anytime you meet with anybody, when you're talking about your finances, right? Picking the right company, you want to make sure that that company is performing well. You want to make sure that they're going to give you the best bang for your buck, and your best interest is put first, right? And then two, choosing the right person. Everyone that works in my industry that does what I do, we're all paid commission based. So if someone were to walk up to you and be like, hey, you know what, I get paid just for meeting with you today. It doesn't matter if we do business or not, right? Shake their hand, thank them for their time, and walk out. Because if they're not being honest about how they're being paid, you can't really trust what they're going to be doing with your money. So just make sure that you got the right company and the right person that you're working with. And that's just an important lesson. Those lessons are important to me because whenever I talk with somebody, I don't just like throwing them information where it's like this information was exclusive to our meeting. A lot of the stuff I share with my clients is public knowledge. Unfortunately, it's not the case with a lot of information out there, especially a lot of beneficial information for families at home. But with that said, I want to get into today's lesson. Excuse me. Which is tax diversification, right? If you're familiar with the term, great. If not, super simple. Tax diversification just means you're putting your money into separate buckets, right? That way you minimize the amount that each of them are taxed, right? I'm gonna get into a quick example right now. So the typical American might have a 401k, right? And if you guys, I don't know how much you guys know about 401ks, so I'll just go over some quick information about them. So 401ks, they are taxable, and you cannot touch them until you're 59 and a half. And that's to avoid legal not legal fees. We're gonna cut it right here. So 401k is taxable, and you can't touch that money until you're 59 and a half years old without getting any fees. And 59 and a half, it's a pretty good retirement age, but if we're being honest, people are retiring a lot later on. And that's where the other deadline comes into place. I think it's around 11 years after 59 and a half, you have to withdraw that money. Otherwise, you're going to get hit with more fees. So, and then if you do decide to take it within that time frame, you're going to get taxed. So, I'm not bashing on 401ks. 401ks are, they're old school, traditional. So if you have a 401k, you're funding it. 401ks are great, right? But they only do one thing great, and that's accumulate. And what I'm going to show you guys right now, this example, is how you can use a 401k and supplement it with something else just to improve your retirement with tax diversification. So in this example, we have client A, right? We're going to name him Joe. Joe has a 401k, and up until the age of 65, when he's ready to retire, Joe funds it $100,000, right? When Joe turns 65, he's like, you know what? I'm going to pull the money out. So he pulls the money out, but he gets taxed 30% when he does that. So I'll do the hard math for you guys. 30% of 100 is 30,000. So he's left with $70,000, right? So $100,000 less with $70,000. On the other side, we have client B. We're gonna name him Jim, right? Jim is my client. So Jim has a 401k, and he has the same amount of money set aside for retirement, $100,000. But Jim also has a supplemental form of retirement that we're just going to call a tax-free growth vehicle. The reason I call it a tax-free growth vehicle is because it could be multiple things. It could be an IRA. It could be a whole life insurance policy. It could be multiple things. So, well, for this situation, right, Jim has a 401k and a tax-free growth vehicle. But because Jim knows about tax diversification, what Jim is going to do is Jim is going to put $50,000 into his 401k and $50,000 into his tax-free growth vehicle. Now, when Jim turns 65, ready to retire, he's going to take that money out of his 401k, right? And when he takes it out, because he only funded it $50,000, it's going to lower his tax bracket. So we go from 30% to 20% of his $50,000, which is 10%. So he's left with $40,000 from his 401k. And then on the other hand, he has $50,000 in this tax-free growth vehicle. Anyone want to take a guess how much of that money he's going to get? If you said $50,000, you're correct, right? So tax-free, the keyword tax-free, nothing gets taxed of those $50,000 that he put into the tax-free growth vehicle. So 40K plus 50K is $90,000, right? $20,000 more than the $70,000 that Joe was getting. And the truth about this, it's anyone can apply this, right? If you've probably heard this, it's super cliche, but this is how the rich stay rich. They use strategies like these to avoid paying so much taxes or being able to write certain things off. So it really it just comes down to doing your own research and finding this stuff out. But luckily for you guys, John has me on here to share that information with you guys. But I hope you guys benefit from this. If this is something that you would benefit from, I'm going to go ahead and tell John to leave my contact information with you guys. Feel free to reach out to me over the phone, and we could definitely chit chat. Or just reach out to any of your local financial professionals too. Like I said, you want to make sure that you're taken care of by the the right company and the right person. So I'll leave you guys with that. I enjoyed my time on here. I love talking to people. I love educating. I hope to be on here again. Thank you guys.
Coming next week to Invest Universal.